Banjaxed Solutions' mission is to become the #1 Salesforce company. High level, what Salesforce is a platform which any kind of business or organization can build their company on, their operations on. Salesforce is a bit of a misnomer in that today it doesn't have to have anything to do with sales at all. We have organizations on Salesforce that don't even have sales departments. We have law firms on Salesforce that aren't even allowed to advertise in certain methodologies. We have schools on Salesforce. So the way that I like to describe Salesforce, and that there are many different definitions, and you'll hear people describe it different ways, but as a technologist, like someone who's built other applications, software applications, I like to just describe Salesforce as a technology stack. So in technology, when you talk about a technology stack, you're talking about what kind of database are you using, what kind of UI are you using, and all that has to do with the way that the information for an application is stored and then visualized to a user. Salesforce provides a framework to where companies and organizations can organize their business processes in a way that allows them to use that information. The vast majority of our clients you wouldn't have heard of. We have clients all over the country doing all sorts of different jobs, but some of the clients that you may have heard of, General Mills, so you know they make the cereal that you enjoy in the morning, Costco, Home Depot. Some of these are clients that we've worked with directly. Some of these are clients that we have worked with as a third-party vendor, working towards maybe as a subcontractor to another big project that they are already working on. Salesforce is not the cheapest solution for small companies. So if you're like a sole proprietor, you're probably not going to choose to run your business on Salesforce. It starts to become a viable option for companies when you get 20 plus employees, and the larger you get, the more significant of decision it becomes. I think the biggest Salesforce deal that I'm aware of is AT&T announced that they were switching all their systems to Salesforce. So there are definitely a lot of big companies on Salesforce. Yeah, we used to use ClickUp as well, and that's a great product, by the way. I totally recommend it for what its purpose is. And there's so many products out there that it's, if you don't know the difference, it's hard to tell one from the other. But Salesforce is really in a league of its own in terms of its flexibility to run an entire business off of. I would never describe ClickUp as a technology stack. A technology stack is something you can build an entire application on to run any sort of organization or business. It doesn't matter what it is. And it's just the underlying framework to store all the data you need and give you all of the UI and functionality you need. And that's really what Salesforce is for us. So with other products, you have products that try to package up individual functionalities, and they work good, like ClickUp or Jira or stuff like that. And those are more like task management functionalities. You can definitely do that in Salesforce. So you also have more CRMs that are like sales-oriented tools that are geared towards keeping track of leads and contacts, and then those tools are most likely going to send out, emails and schedule follow-up reminders. All of that stuff, though, is built on top of databases that store data, and they interact with UIs. UI meaning like the user experience portion, like what do you look at when you're looking at your screen and what buttons do you click. So Salesforce you can break down to its fundamental level of, it just gives you the ability to manipulate what that database is like and what that UI experience is like. So on top of that, you can build task management applications like ClickUp, you can build CRM type applications like a sales tool, or you can run a car dealership, or you can run a church, or you can run a school. Because all organizations need to keep track of their data, and then they need to create some kind of user experience around what interacting with that data looks like. They have all these pre-packages, and actually the pre-packages are both beneficial for consumers, but also sort of misleading, because you can totally get a pre-package and you can get the Sales Cloud, or you can get one of these different pre-packages, and it kind of can make you believe that Salesforce is this pre-package. But really the pre-package is just a collection of database tables and schemas on top of Salesforce and UI experiences on top of Salesforce that give you some out-of-the-box functionality. But in almost any of those pre-packages, you can modify and customize those to the point of building whatever it is you want to build. You can add additional objects, which are the equivalent of database tables. You can add additional user experiences, buttons, automations, functions, flows. All of that can be built from any given starting point. But to answer your question, yeah, they do have like prepackaged starting points. So with our legal clients, they do get a prepackaged. The most successful prepackaged starting point in the legal industry is called Litify. We do a lot of work with them. They provide a great starting point for law firms to operate their business. But all of the law firms that we work with, they want to create an experience that is really tailored to what their law firm does, like what their operations are, the way they want to process their cases, the way they want to do accounting and financials and intake. And so we go in with that starting point, and then we make modifications in order to really tailor it to that business. One of our mottos is we're raving Salesforce fans, and we create raving Salesforce fans. So we want to create raving Salesforce fans out of our customers. So when we start, maybe a lot of people will blame, if they're not having a great experience, they may blame the Salesforce product or whatever the situation may be, but the truth is it's just not set up yet to work for them. So we like, it's a good experience when we can go in with a business or an organization that's frustrated, and then month over month we can see, oh, they're less frustrated. Now it's starting to work for them. Now they're starting to get excited. Now they're starting to see operational improvements. And then over the course of time, they transition into these raving Salesforce fans that are super thrilled with what they're able to do with their business. So it is possible that, and common, that someone will come with a given state and they want it to be in a different state, and that is a finite, very specific amount of time. Maybe it's 3 months long, and we will go in and accomplish that, and then they'll be done. Other companies have more of a perspective that is a commitment to continual improvement, and their business is going to continue to change, and they are going to continue to iterate on their processes and their system. And for those customers, it's more like an indefinite partnership to continue to improve their business. I like when organizations have a commitment to continued improvement. So these are normally organizations that think of themselves as like forward thinking. They're always looking for a cutting edge. They want to continue to improve on efficiencies and maybe go into new markets. And it's just more exciting to always be going after that continued growth in business with the client and have that sort of partnership where we handle the technical aspects of building out your Salesforce org. You tell us what your business objectives are, and we're always working towards those goals. I think that's the relationship that I enjoy the most. We do sort of adjust ebbs and flows in terms of volumes of work. Occasionally, even in that scenario, the client will have a big idea, right? And they'll have to come to us with a big idea. We'll talk about resource allocation, like how many hours is that going to take? How many people are we going to have to move around to accomplish that objective in what amount of time? So even in the sort of consistent partnership relationship, there can be ebbs and flows, and we can totally adjust resource allocation to accomplish their goals. So in regard to our products, we do have products. Our most popular product is Conversations. It's an application. So on top of Salesforce exists an application, an app store. You can think of it just like an iPhone or an Android phone where there's an app store. We have an application that you can install in your Salesforce org. That application is called Conversations. It does different communication mediums. It currently does text, fax, and email. We're working on adding voice to make that a full sort of phone and communication solution. We were just talking earlier that we wanted to get Under Armour, but I think that's just because several of us were wearing Under Armour shirts. I like to work with any businesses that are creating any kind of societal value, and I mean that like any kind of product that people value, that people purchase. Just because I really view like participating in the economy as adding value to society at large. Honestly, Salesforce is going after everybody. I don't know that there's any industry that they are not trying to target, and they've made their platform versatile enough to where they will work with pretty much everybody. Organizations, even though they're all different, they have much of the same kinds of problems, which is like just keeping track of information over time. That's essentially what all organizations are trying to do. Whether it be crypto or a hospital or a school or an oil company, or they need to keep track of their assets, they need to keep track of their people, they need to keep track of their data. So in that respect, they're pretty similar. In large organizations, you're probably going to have some kind of a CTO involved in that decision making, or head of IT, or something like that. If they're implementing Salesforce, so some organizations implement Salesforce for the entire organization, and the implementation of Salesforce is oftentimes a part of a consolidation effort, which means that maybe they have like 5 or 6 different systems that they're using to track various things in their organization, and they've decided at a high level, hey, we need to bring all this together into one system, and therefore we're going to get Salesforce, we're going to implement this for the whole organization, we're going to migrate all the data from these 6 different systems into Salesforce, and everyone's going to live in one place. And I believe this is the effort that AT&T is going through in the process of bringing a bunch of different systems together. And many of our clients are going through this kind of consolidation effort. So if that's the case, that decision is usually made at the very top because it affects everybody, and everybody is going to have to get on board to get on the same page with moving to Salesforce. And that is a big undertaking with a big reward for the company once you finally get it done, because then you can connect dots that you weren't able to connect before. Before, accounting would have to get an email with a PDF from some other department so that they could run payroll or invoices. And once you move everyone to Salesforce, then all of that stuff can be connected, and we can help you connect it so that you have the best user experience for your employees and the most automated and efficient workflow. Occasionally, a company will implement Salesforce into a single department. Usually it's the sales department, and this goes back to that original sort of misnomer that I was describing at the beginning, as a lot of people still think they know that Salesforce is super important and valuable, but they just still think of it as a sales tool. And occasionally when you have that, they'll think, oh, well, let's implement it in our sales department. That's totally possible. We do that all the time. However, it is sort of limiting the scope of what it could be used for. And then oftentimes one thing that could happen in that scenario is they'll start in the sales department and then sort of creep into the other areas as they start to implement functionalities. Like, okay, the sales department is using it successfully and then they interact with customer service, so maybe we should just kind of expand the scope over to customer service and let the customer service people log into Salesforce. And that's kind of like a land and expand sort of process of implementing Salesforce into the company. It is definitely a big decision, and there's going to be a lot of work put in. There's going to be a lot of money spent to get this to work for your organization. So what we would do is we would consult with the company. We'd probably go out and see their operations and really look at how it's going to affect their business. And does it make more sense to go with a let's knock it all out in one swoop, or does it make more sense to do a land and expand? We'd probably put together some different models on which method would work better in that case, and then ultimately the client would make the decision that's in their best interest. It can totally be done with a fast-growing organization, and if you keep up with it, it's probably the best way to grow an organization, because the problem, one of the challenges with growing quickly is that you lose track, and you may make operations that work really well today, and in 4 weeks, those operations might be outdated. So the flexibility of Salesforce does allow it to keep up with quickly changing operations, but it does require a lot of discipline and commitment to keep up with it. The financial investment is going to scale with the size of your employee base. If you have 10 employees, you don't need Salesforce, but you could start using Salesforce. And I think that a lot of this is going to depend on what the business is, what the operations are, what the alternatives are. So some industries have out-of-the-box solutions in software products that work for small, very cookie-cutter types of businesses. For example, if you have a hair salon and your hair salon follows a very specific model that is the same as all other hair salons, and if there's a software product made for hair salons that follows this exact specific cookie cutter model that works for your hair salon, then you're probably good. You should use that out of the box solution. But the moment that your business starts to become a organization that is unique because of the different value adds that your business has figured out to offer, and it's a little different than the way that everybody else is doing it. And now you have more than 10 employees, you have 20, 30 plus 100 employees or whatever, and it's got different departments that don't match up to any of these cookie cutter solutions. That is definitely when you should start looking at Salesforce. Words we hear is this isn't talking to this, X isn't talking to Y. Accounting isn't talking to operations or whatever. And so then we, so to speak, make those things talk to each other. And that's usually at the fundamental level, something to do with data being saved in one area is not reflecting in another area. So maybe we need to trigger some kind of automation to push a notification somewhere else, or maybe we need to consolidate their databases, or ultimately we like to let the client talk in their language, and then we put sort of the burden of interpretation on us, right? So we don't want to make our clients talk to us like technologists and like Salesforce developers, and that's our job. So it's our people's responsibility to understand the client's language and figure out how to interpret that. It is a commitment, and it is going to take time. A lot of, and it's going to be work. A lot of times, everything behind the screen seems like magic if you're not in technology. So since it's magic in a lot of people's minds, it's like, hey, let me just explain this real quick and it'll be fixed by tomorrow. Like, we just have wands, magic wands, and that's how we do all of our work. But it doesn't work exactly like that, right? Sometimes, depending on what it is that the client is actually scoping out and requiring what changes they want to make, some of those changes are going to require phases of development, implementation, testing, validation. And one of the things that we try to do a really good job at is expectation setting. Because definitely the biggest cause of client frustrations is unmet expectations. And unmet expectations are usually caused from incorrect expectation setting. So the best thing that we can do to ensure a consistent, satisfied client experience is to set those expectations correctly at the beginning. And so in the initial interview with clients, we really want to gauge what their existing expectations are, but then we really want to reassess and go over with them what the expectations should be as we endeavor into accomplishing whatever their objectives are. If I were that decision maker, it's not so much what you're getting, because every one of those people is going to promise you that your job is going to get completed. Okay, but as a decision maker in an organization, the way that I look at it is, what is my probability of success? Because we've all worked with contractors that have let us down, right? And so when I interview contractors, the price is a variable, but it's certainly not the only variable. And so when I talk to someone and they may give me a low price, I want to gauge myself. What is the probability that I think that this person is going to deliver a lot of value for my organization? And regardless of what value they say they're going to deliver, what do I assess how much value they're going to deliver to my organization? So one of our main goals is just to deliver value into the Salesforce ecosystem, even if that value is just to help other people working on Salesforce. So we're making different types of videos, but one type of videos is tutorials for anybody. Lessons learned that we've learned here that we want to pass on. We do have some great creative folks here at Banjaxed that make those videos. They're super cool, and we're just getting started with that. We're really going to ramp that up the more we get into it. Several things. I mean, if you work here, if you're even in our office for any period of time, you will notice just the culture and the vibe. So one thing that we do differently than other organizations like ours is we're all in person. And we believe in creating a culture. We believe in teamwork. Our teams work together in ways that I cannot imagine being as effective if they weren't huddled together, sitting over each other's shoulders, going over documentation together, collaborating over a shared conference table. And that's just one aspect of the way that we do our teams here. We also do a lot of reviews. So we do client call reviews. We're always reviewing each other's work. Hey, what could have been done in this better in this situation? We do a lot of after action reviews. How could we have delivered a better result for the client? So that process of continually building our team, I think, sets us apart.